It's time to talk about the important issues for the natural state, and there's only one place to turn for that. Opportunity Arkansas's Nic Horton. You can find Nic's work at opportunityarkansas.org.
And welcome back. It is the Wednesday edition of First News here on the 6th of November, 20 minutes in front of 8 o'clock, and a lot of election news to go through both nationally and here locally in Arkansas. Now joining us to do some of that is Opportunity Arkansas's CEO and founder, Nic Horton. And Nic, good morning to you. And, Nic, right out of the gates, I mean, how surprised are you? We talked about it last week that, probably aren't going to know the results of the presidential race when we talk this week, but here we are. How surprised are you that we know who the president's going to be next?
Wow, yeah. Is there an election going on?
Yeah, a little something yesterday.
Let me be honest. Full disclosure here, I'm about 3 hours of sleep, but I think this might be the most energy I've had in several years. Wow, yeah, what a night. I think a lot to unpack, and I'm sure we'll go into state issues and presidential and everything else. But yeah, I say this with all sincerity, praise God, like literally praise God that we know the results when we do. I have that is an answered prayer literally for me and friends and family. And I think people all over the country that, regardless of how you feel about the outcome or the candidates, I don't think anyone wanted to see this thing drag out for days and days and days like we did in 2020.
Yeah.
And that was a real fear. And I made a comment to someone yesterday, like, if it happens again, it's going to just become the way that it is, right? It's just going to become the expectation that it takes years and years, or I should say weeks and weeks and weeks to get the results every 4 years. And, praise God that we know that we have clarity for the country going forward and we can start to hopefully come together and look ahead. And honestly, thank you to so many conservative legislators and policymakers across the country who fixed their election processes. I mean, let's not forget 2020, there were a lot of votes and COVID and mail ballots and all these things, but there were some really broken electoral election systems out there. Talk about Zuckerbucks and the influence of outside money in our election systems and all these other things. But thank goodness and thank you to all the folks, including here in Arkansas. We made some changes. We've got really good elections, but we did make some changes to make them even better. And, a lot to unpack. But I am very grateful. I think we should all be grateful, regardless of what side you're on, that we have some clarity this morning.
No, you really hit the nail on the head about making changes between 2020 and now to make this go a lot smoother. I mean, it's very helpful to the entire country. It doesn't really matter what side you voted on that matter, and it's great to see it come through very quickly. One other thing on the national side, I mean, it looks like the Senate and the House are going to be Republican majorities as well. I mean, that's going to be a very different government moving forward for us.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a little bit working in the policy space, as I've done for my entire career, more than a decade now. You feel a little bit of this whiplash every 2 years, every 4 years, where it's like, okay, we're going really far this direction. Well, now we're going to go really far this direction. But at the end of the day, look, I think we all hope that, if you're a conservative out there listening, and you probably are, that these Republicans, these new incoming senators and House members, and certainly the Trump administration, that they don't squander this opportunity. I mean, that's all I've been able to think about the last 12 hours since it was clear which way the direction of this was going. We can't waste this. Conservatives cannot waste this opportunity to finally fix, and we can talk about that in depth at the state level too, because that's what I'm focused on. That's what I'm really excited about, some of the state options and state opportunities that this is going to open up for real reform. But Republicans, conservatives have to deliver. I mean, you're going to hear this word a lot. Folks are going to hear this word a lot over the next several weeks. Something tells me by the time we get through the holidays and the first of the year, people will have already forgotten. But between now and the end of the year, they're going to hear the word mandate a lot. And that is a great word for what has happened here. This was a landslide from top to bottom. There wasn't a person in the country that thought, there were very few, if that thought this was going to be a trifecta. And it looks like in the Senate, the U.S. Senate, it's not just going to be a seat or two I mean, this could be a 53, 54, even potentially still, I think, a possibility for a 55-seat majority in the U.S. Senate. That is a massive deal compared to where we were, just a few weeks ago.
Right.
So there's a mandate here, and I think that the mistake that our side tends to make, just speaking broadly as conservatives, is we're the dog, we catch the car, and then we don't know what to do, or we freeze up, or we get in our heads and we start listening to the lobbyists and the consultants and the people that tell us, well, yeah, that was great. That was a great campaign slogan, but nobody actually expects you to do that, right? Like, They've already forgotten. They've already moved on. So bottom line, I think there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of optimism, but we've got to seize it as a conservative cause.
Nick, as far as the voting here in Arkansas, any surprises for you in any of the state Senate or House races? Did anything stick out to you in those races?
Yeah, there was a couple surprises. I think, it looks like Chief Justice of the Supreme Court race is going to go in a way that I think really very few people expected. I could talk a lot about that, and I think we've talked, I think even last week, Toby, about these nonpartisan races where folks don't know who they're voting for, and it doesn't make sense to see these big Republican sweeps. President Trump winning 65, 70% of the vote, all the congressional members being reelected from the Arkansas federal delegation, and then a liberal justice being elected as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. It just doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. That looks like what's going to happen here. And again, maybe this will be an opportunity for some reform. I think there's some important changes that need to be made, whether it's going to partisan or maybe just simply relaxing some of the rules and letting these judicial candidates talk about their judicial philosophy and their political philosophy, for lack of a better term, because voters deserve that transparency and they deserve to know. I think that's a big surprise. That's probably going to be the biggest surprise here in Arkansas on the ballot issues, which I know we've talked a lot about. Looks like issue 1 is going to win big.
Yeah.
It looks like issue 2 is going to win pretty big. And I think that's I think that's a good thing. I think that's good policy for the state to say voters should have a say in whether or not they're going to have casinos built in their backyard. Mm-hmm. So it looks like that's going to be going forward. And there were, at the legislative level, there was at least one surprise, maybe not a massive surprise just based on the makeup of the district, but you do have one race. And it's significant in the sense that it's been a long time. It's been a really long time since Democrats at the state level picked up any legislative seats. It looks like they're going to pick up one in Northwest Arkansas. Representative Dee Hodges, it looks like based on the vote totals that are in right now, she's going to fall a little bit short of getting reelected. I hate to see that. She's a great legislator, conservative, a fighter, but a very purple district. I will say, though, right there to your audience in Little Rock, a huge, massive victory, and congratulations to my dear friend, Representative Keith Brooks, who was the lead sponsor of the LEARNS Act. He is going to win by about 2-1. Nice. And that was a race that Democrats thought they could pick up around Little Rock. The Arkansas Democrat Gazette endorsed the Democrat challenger. There was this big facade of momentum for the other candidate, and Representative Brooks, again, talking about a mandate, he's got a mandate now, and I think the wind at his back and a clear signal from the people of Arkansas that they support education freedom, that they want new ideas and a new direction for our education system, and it's a really, really clear sign of that. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, no, there's definitely can hear what's being spoken by the voters yesterday. As we're talking with Nic Horton, the CEO and founder of Opportunity Arkansas. I know this wasn't on your ballot, Nick, but of course here in the metro for Little Rock, the penny sales tax was on there. 2 different votes for people, one operational, one for capital improvements to build things around the city. This failed fairly massively. Looks like it's about 65% against it, 35% for it. Any surprise there? I mean, I don't think people are in the mood for a new tax right now, the way the world's been going, or at least the way the country's been going. And so it didn't surprise me, but any surprise to you that didn't come close?
Not a massive surprise based on what I'd been hearing and just some polling and other things that I was kind of hearing some ruffling about. But a great result, I think, for the people of Little Rock, and frankly for a lot of us that don't live in Little Rock but are there every other day or so, spending a lot of money on gas and food and all sorts of things. Look, I hope that we can always hope, right, that the legislative leaders at the city level there, on the city council in Little Rock, and the mayor take their licks on this and learn the right lesson from this. Again, we're talking about the state level and the federal level, that there's a mandate. There's a mandate here now for the leaders of Little Rock to recognize. I mean, what is this, the third or fourth sales tax proposal that's been just outright rejected in the last 8, 9, 10 years?
Yep.
Just stop. Just take the lesson that you are being given from the voters and do the hard work of governing. Do the hard work of cleaning up your budget, cleaning up the streets, making Little Rock safe again. It's now one of the top 5 most dangerous cities in America. Fix the roads, fix the public safety issues. That's what voters want. They don't want to continue to give you. And look, if Little Rock does that, I could very well see in a few years they may get a sales tax. They may get some additional revenue from voters, but they don't have that trust right now in the leaders in Little Rock that if they do that, that money is going to be well spent. And I think there's a real concern that the money that the city does get, they're not managing it well. They're not stretching it well. They're not prioritizing it. They're not focusing it in the places that it's really needed. So that's a message. That's a mandate in and of itself that the voters of Little Rock have sent to the city leaders that are saying, get your act together and figure this out, and stop coming to us every time you need a bailout effectively and you want more money for these pet projects, because you're getting the basics wrong, and it's time to get the basics right.
Yeah, and I've said this before on the show. I mean, I like the idea of building new things around here. You just can't ask the taxpayers to pay for it. That's not the way that it works now. You got to be more creative, and like you said, you got to get your books straight, and then you can look at making these different, you building these different venues and things like that would attract more money into Little Rock, especially when you talk about tourism and things like that. And I mean, that would be very helpful to us, but you can't ask the taxpayers to pay for it. Not the way things are right now.
Little Rock's a great city. I mean, you've got the river, you've got the airport, you've got the river market area, which used to be really nice.
Right.
You've got West Little Rock that's really booming. I mean, it's a great city. There's no reason it shouldn't be a draw for people from even out of state to come and spend time here, go hike Pinnacle, go do some bass
have
fishing.
Soccer tournaments. I mean, all of that.
Have soccer tournaments, yeah. But you said it so well. Like, let's focus on those things and getting the streets fixed and the homelessness problem fixed and the public safety problem fixed. Let's figure out those things, which, by the way, is the actual role of government. And if you do those things well, the private sector investment and the free market investment and everything else is going to follow, because I think Arkansas, and Little Rock in particular, is set up so well for that. But when you can't get the basics right and people are worried about getting mugged or shot or harassed, that growth is not going to happen. And so, again, I hope for the good of the whole state, frankly, because there's this idea that as the capital city goes, so goes the state. We've got to figure that out, and I hope that the leaders there take their medicine on this.
You're gonna visit with Brad later today. Did I see you on the schedule for this afternoon?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I'm coming in studio actually. 2:00.
We'll have
We're
to
gonna
clean
kick off
up
the show. So big appearance. Yeah,
we're gonna have guests.
Get the red carpet ready.
Oh, we will, guaranteed. So we'll have a nice glass of water waiting for you. So it'll be good. So, all right, Nick. Well, always appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate your insight on what's gone on over the last 24 hours in regards to the elections. Of course, if you want to see Nick and Opportunity Arkansas's work, you go to their website. It's opportunityarkansas.org is where you can find them online. But Nick, always appreciate the conversation, and we'll talk again next week. But we'll be hearing from you this afternoon on the Schmidt Show.
Yeah, I look forward to it, and I just want to say again, I know we're out of time, but this is a mandate at the state level for state leaders to get serious about dependency reform, Medicaid reform.
Yep.
We're going to have an incredible amount of new opportunities now under the Trump administration to finally fix our Medicaid program, which is dictating and controlling our entire budget. And so you're going to hear a lot more from us about that. You're going to hear a lot more about it today at 2:00. On the Schmidt Show, but we have got to get our dependency crisis fixed, and this is a really exciting opportunity to do that. So a lot of work to do, but it's exciting.
All right, man. Well, have a good day, and we'll hear from you later on today on the station once again. We appreciate it, Nick.
Sounds great. Thank you, sir.